welcome to episode 7 of the Brooks Project. You can see we've got our columns up, our top plates are in, and in this video we will start framing in all the areas around the steel moment frame. You can see here we've got our beam work in, our posts are ready to go. There's tiling, helping out with layout, and we are prepping for the trusses. In a moment here, you'll see Jason working on the moment frame. This is the front of the building, and Jason did a great job getting all of this welded up. Did some really nice clean work. As the video goes on here, you will see some other angles of the front of this structure. But I just wanted to say a couple things about a moment frame. In our particular case here, this moment frame is actually known as a shear wall moment frame. There are different types of moment frames out there, and you can research some of those, such as a braced moment frame. There are gusseted moment frames. Anyways, there's different styles. Ours is basically rigid connected components. In this case are steel, and those are to be lined with LSL 1 3/4 engineered lumber that gets fastened to these frames, and then the shear wall comes into play when we nail off our 1/2 inch plywood to the front of all of this composite structure. Jason did a ton of work in about 4 days, I believe, handling 3/8 and 3/16 steel tubing up and down the scaffold, setting up his welding machines, and bracing, cutting, and mounting all of this moment frame. A lot of work, and he made great use of his hoists and his pulleys to get it done. Well, after battling the weather for about a month, we finally had an open opportunity to get the trusses on site, and there was a little bit of tension there. It's similar to pouring concrete because you get one shot at it, and all this work that went into making the building square and true and plumb, it gets put under the microscope on a day where you're dropping your trusses. If there's any discrepancies in the elevations of your plates, your posts, your beam work, it's going to show immediately when you go to set those trusses on. And we had so much weather that I was worried and expecting the lumber to be fat and swollen, which can already throw things out of whack a little bit, but usually not too bad. In our case, the trusses, the mid-span trusses that continue on the beams here into the front, were the wrong size. And it wasn't by much, it was about 5/8, but it's enough to create, a little extra tension. And because we were so high up over the front portion of the building, I asked the crane operator to stick around longer, and we paid a little extra to have each one of these trusses picked and set. It was icy, it was cold, we had fought all through the winter, and I just wanted to try to make things a little easier, and I'm glad I did in the end. As each new truss lands on the plate, we would install some 2x4 running through the center to brace it up, and we would block it at the far ends. And this keeps everything on layout, and for the most part keeps everything sturdy. As you can see, these trusses are fairly spindly. They're 2x4, and they're just held together by these gussets. They don't look like much on their own, but as a unit of the entire package put together, they are very strong, especially once the roof sheeting goes on and ties that whole diaphragm down to the lower walls. It always feels good to get those last couple trusses in, on, and done. And so there you go. Everything's planing nicely. Like I said, a little bit of tension on the job site. Wanted to make sure everything turned out well, and it did. You can make a quick mental note of these custom lookouts. We'll come back to them in a minute. I've got to say, there was an awesome amount of blocking in this truss system. I have never before put so many LSL blocks or engineered lumber into a truss package. So this was the first time. All right, so at this point, we are plumbing up our trusses, bringing everything into layout, installing our outriggers, and putting in those notched supports for the outriggers at the far corners of this roof system. There was some worry about snow load on a 3-foot eave at the far corner of this building, and that's where you can see we've got those notched interlocking fake kind of rafter tails that come down. And then we take our outriggers and we notch them so that they interlock each other. This creates a ton of structural stability and adds to the load capacity of that very far corner. It wasn't called out for in the plans, but it seemed to me that it was a pretty weak spot. And then once you nail all that together with the 5/8 plywood, it really makes a bomber extra heavy duty support there for snow load. I know I've mentioned it before, but if you were going to take carpentry seriously, especially framing, and you are not interested in being up high on ladders or climbing structures or packing lumber on ladders or a lot of other relatively athletic and dangerous tasks, then you might really want to rethink doing this stuff as a career. So once we had the roof sheeted and got it all dried in, we dropped back downstairs to deal with the interior frame of the second story. Once I got the stairs in, things started to feel wrapped up. Here you can see a little bit more of the shear wall framing connected to the moment frame. And then a little bit of tune-up on some of those trusses that were a little large. And some more snow, of course. So this about wraps it up for us here on the Brooks project. Jason and Liz and the family have a lot of work ahead, and we wish them the best. See you next time.